Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be talking about whether or not I actually have schizophrenia. Hi everyone and welcome back to the Living Well with Schizophrenia channel. My name is Lauren and I make videos about what it's like to live with schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia. If you'd like to see more videos from us, make sure to subscribe. And also, if you would like to help support the creation of these videos, please check out the link to our Patreon page. Once you become a patron, you also gain access to our private Discord community where we offer peer support through various mediums such as text channels and also weekly peer support groups. So if this is something that interests you, please check out the link to our Patreon page. Okay, so a little bit of a clickbaity title because yes, I do have schizophrenia. Well, I have schizoaffective disorder. And I realize that this video is probably going to fuel the fire, fuel the flames in terms of the small amount of people who criticize me for faking or whatnot. And fine. I'm doing this because I think that it's a really important component of the illness to discuss. So what I want to talk a little bit more about today is kind of the feeling of, especially when you're in a prolonged period of wellness, which I am, the feeling of kind of starting to question your diagnosis and question if you really have schizophrenia, and question if during those periods of unwellness, when you were very symptomatic or in psychosis or whatnot, if that was really real. And if it was all in your head or you were actually faking it or you made up those symptoms afterward. And this can be a really difficult thing to kind of wrap your mind around. And so we did a video on anosognosia. And anosognosia is basically when a person with a mental illness does not understand that they have the mental illness, or they cannot fully understand what the mental illness means or entails. And this kind of comes into play where, you can't understand that you were in a different state of mind at one point. And I think that anosognosia is a really hard concept for people who have never experienced it to understand because, how can you just completely shift from experiencing these intense things to then questioning if they really happened or questioning if you made them up. And, I think that this is something that I was a little bit embarrassed about for a while. It's been hard to kind of navigate that, especially given the fact that I have a YouTube channel centered around my experiences with the illness. And so then when I'm questioning, well, do I actually have this illness? That's kind of weird and hard to navigate. But, through our Discord community, actually, it has come up a lot that this is actually a very common experience for people who are living with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder. I think that psychosis is kind of a hard thing to wrap your head around, even if you've been through it yourself. And, it's hard when you're well to understand that your brain could have worked that way at one point, effectively being in an altered state of reality. And so it's very hard to understand that that really happened and that you were really in that alternate state. And you start to question, well, did I just make it up? And the only comparison I can really come up with is if some kind of trauma happens and you question it later on. So, if you had a really big fight with your partner, or you are in the process of a divorce, or if you were in a car accident, or a loved one died, or, anything kind of big and traumatic like that. And then, you wake up the next day and you kind of question, did that really happen? Is this real? Can this be happening? And I think that feeling of questioning, well, was that really real, is kind of similar anyway to the anosognosia that comes into play when you start to question, well, did that really happen? Was that really my experience, when you start to question periods of psychosis? And so it's a really difficult thing to navigate in terms of understanding that this is part of the illness, questioning whether or not you have the illness. And so that's hard to deal with. The way that I've kind of learned to manage this, unfortunately, is through repetition. So I will, the first time the first time I went through psychosis and then recovered and was in a period of wellness, I was like, I think I made that up. Like I don't think that really happened. And so then you kind of move into this period of, well, I don't need medication then if I don't have it. And so you start to, reduce your medication or go off your medication, and then it happens again. And then right after that, you're like, okay, I get it. It's real. Whenever I stop taking my medication, it happens again. And so, I can't be making this up. But then you have more of a prolonged period of wellness and you start to question it again. And you're like, well, maybe I made it up twice. Maybe I don't need medication again. And so you go off medication and it happens again. And I think you understand the cycle that I've kind of been stuck in, and that I think other people get stuck in as well, where you don't understand that your illness is real, or you don't want to believe that your illness is real. And so you go off medication and you become unwell again. And so I think just having done this numerous amount of times, I've kind of learned that when I'm feeling this way, it's normal. It's normal to be feeling that way, but I still understand that I do have the illness, just because every time I've convinced myself that I don't and gone off medication, it has not gone well, and the symptoms have come back strongly. Also, I just want to touch on the fact that this feeling can kind of be compounded if you have people in your life who question your diagnosis as well, who maybe don't believe the validity of your mental illness. Talking to some people through our Discord community, this is a common experience too, where they have people in their life who just don't understand the illness that they're living with, and so don't believe them when they're expressing symptoms and whatnot. And so having people in your life who don't believe you can make you question it even more and make you feel like, oh, well, maybe I am faking it. Maybe I don't have this. And, I don't really have anyone in my personal life who questions my illness or doesn't believe me that I have schizoaffective disorder, but there are often comments on YouTube of people questioning whether or not I have it. And I think that kind of feeds my delusion, is essentially what it is, that maybe I don't have schizoaffective disorder. So this is something that, clearly I've struggled with a lot in terms of leading to relapses. And so one psychiatrist actually that I had in the hospital one time suggested that I take a picture of myself in the emergency room when I'm, brought in by police or by an ambulance or whatnot, and just the state, like a visual evidence of the state that I was in, so that, when I'm questioning it later on, I can look back at that picture and be like, oh yeah, no, I didn't make that up. And it just kind of helps to provide a glimpse back into what you were experiencing in that period. If you have any other tips for how to kind of bring yourself back to understanding that you do have the illness, we would love to hear about them in the comments below. I hope this video kind of helps you to feel less alone in this feeling, or feel like less of a, imposter in terms of having the illness, because I think that it's a very common experience to have with schizophrenia. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more from us, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to help support the creation of these videos, make sure to check out the link to our Patreon page. Thanks again for watching, and as always, wishing you and your loved ones good health. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.